Hey everyone, I think this is pretty cool. So this is Pizza Monster from the 80s Ninja Turtle cartoon. That was always one of my favorite episodes. There are like these alien eggs that look like meatballs that get snuck onto the Ninja Turtles pizza. Well, other people's pizza. And they transform and hatch into these giant alien pizza monsters that kind of look like the alien from Aliens, and they have to fight them in the sewers, and it's super rad. So I got this figure from NECA because they never made a figure in the original run back in the 80s and 90s, and that makes me sad because I think, I would have loved to play with them, and I know a lot of other people would have loved to play with them. It would have been super popular. So NECA finally made one, and it looks just like the one in the cartoon, and I know you're not supposed to play with them because they're like models as opposed to toys for display, but I played with it a little bit, not very hard, and snapped the foot off. And here, just a second. I'm gonna set up the camera here so you can see. I've tried to fix it a number of different ways, none of which worked, and it's kind of sad. But then I made a discovery. Like, I tried to glue it with different things, wasn't working. But then what I figured out, there it goes, is if I snipped a piece of a coat hanger off and I scored it a little bit. Sorry, this is kind of blurry. So that it could adhere to glue. And then I drilled into the broken joints, both on this side and on the foot side, with a drill bit roughly the size of the coat hanger. Smaller is better for a snugger fit. This is just a regular drill bit, and I've stuck it in, and I think this was like an awl for like sewing canvas or leather or something that I got at like Michael's a long time ago. But I found that you could unscrew the original needle from it, because it was a needle, and you can put in very small screw bits. You can get little hand drills. Mine broke, so I kind of made one from this, and I actually kind of like it better. I've tried to do small drilling like this with a Dremel, because the bits will fit in there as well, but then find I have much less control. But I was able to do this more slowly. So drilled as far as I felt safe into each of these pieces, scored a piece of a coat hanger, and by that I mean because if you stuck it straight in there, it'd be smooth, right? Here's the coat hanger, and I took a snip off the end of it, but I'll demonstrate here. If you take a pair of pliers and the sharp, snippy ends of the pliers, you put the coat hanger in it, and instead of snipping all the way through, you kind of like rotate so that it kind of like digs. Gosh, I don't know if you can see, but it digs a little bit into it and kind of creates this ribbing effect so that it can bind to glue, because glue doesn't often bind to metal very well. So I measured that, and then I took, this is my favorite glue, other than the hot glue, but it's stronger, Gorilla Construction Adhesive. This stuff is heavy duty, binds to all kinds of stuff. Solid. I would highly recommend it. You can get it for like $8 or $9. And depending on what you're doing with it, it'll last a long time. This has lasted me a couple of years already. Then I stuck the scored coat hanger bit into this hole at an angle, and then stuck it into this hole. Oh, and I also took that needle that was originally part of this, but you can kind of use any implement, and I stuck it inside the Gorilla Glue hole to kind of coat it with glue, and then I did a couple of rounds of sticking it in and out of these holes to make sure that they had a little bit of glue inside. It takes 24 hours to cure, so it'll still be a little bit wet, so I'm not too worried about it. Then I stuck it inside, and unlike with like glue and other methods that I'd used on their own, it can move again. So I'm super excited about that because I was super sad about it dying. So now I've got my Pizza Monster repaired. Now you want to use metal on this because a little wooden dowel like a toothpick, that would break really easily. Nice thing about coat hangers and other sorts of wires, the shorter they get, the harder they are to bend. Like there's more leverage if you try to bend a long piece of it, but if you snip off just a very short piece, it's actually very hard to bend, and so it won't bend while it's in that joint and you're moving it back and forth. What I am a little bit worried about is it creating some wear on the plastic and eventually making the holes bigger. We'll see how that goes. But for the time being, it's working pretty great.